The sun was low over the Ashford estate, spilling gold across the lawn, when Claire Bennett knelt on the damp garden path with her arms open towards 6-year-old Oliver. He swayed on his crutches like a sapling in a storm, his small face rigid with concentration, every muscle in his thin body pulled taut. "Come on, sweetheart," Claire whispered, her voice thick with the tears she refused to let fall. "Just 3 more steps. Don't look down. Look at me." Oliver lifted his eyes, and what she saw in them nearly broke her. They were too big for his thin face, brimming with tears that weren't from pain but from sheer effort, the fierce, stubborn will of a child who refused to quit no matter how frightened he was. His arms trembled on the aluminum crutches, sweat darkened his hair. His legs, the legs everyone had told her were ruined beyond repair, fought to hold him upright. "Promise I won't fall?" he asked, so quietly the birds nearly swallowed the words. "Promise you'll catch me?" "I swear it," Claire said, and meant it with everything in her. "Always will catch you, Oliver. Always. Do you trust me?" He nodded, shut his eyes for a heartbeat as if praying, then opened them again with new resolve, and stepped. The world seemed to hold its breath. His right foot lifted an inch off the stone, trembled in the air, and came down. Unsteady, but down. Then the left, weaker, dragging with visible effort. Then a third step, a small, defiant miracle that undid 6 years of grim prognoses, before his knees buckled and he pitched forward. Claire was already there, arms closing around him before he touched the ground, holding him as he sobbed against her shoulder. Not from sadness, from joy. "I did it, Claire. 3 in a row. Yesterday it was only 2. "You did it, champ." She hugged him fiercely, her own tears falling now unguarded. "I am so proud of you." 4 weeks. That was how long Claire had worked as Oliver Ashford's carer, and in that time her entire understanding of the world had quietly rearranged itself. 4 weeks of secret afternoon sessions in the garden, hidden from everyone in the house, in direct defiance of the woman who ran the estate with the warmth of a locked vault, Margaret Voss, the household administrator. "Master Oliver is not to walk, under any circumstances," Margaret had told her the first day, eyes cold and assessing, as though Claire were a shipment that might turn out defective. "Dr. Ellery's orders are explicit: complete rest, wheelchair at all times. Any attempt at exertion will worsen his condition. If you're responsible for that deterioration, I will see you held accountable." But Claire had learned the truth by the 3rd day, after quietly testing his reflexes and range of motion when no one was watching. What she found first filled her with fury, then grief, and finally a resolve that hadn't wavered since. Oliver had no degenerative disease. What he had was 6 years of forced immobility, muscles wasted not by illness but by disuse, motor patterns that had never been allowed to develop because no one had ever let him try. He hadn't been condemned to that wheelchair by his body. He'd been condemned to it by neglect dressed up as caution. "Miss Claire?" Oliver said now, still cradled against her, his small chest heaving. "What if Margaret sees us? What if she tells Dad?" The fear in his voice cut her to the bone. No 6-year-old should have to be afraid of trying to walk. "She won't see us," Claire said, though her own heart hammered. "Your father never comes home before 8. Margaret's out at the market. I checked. We have the garden to ourselves." "Can we try for 5 steps? I want to surprise him when we finally show him." Claire looked at this boy, his stubborn courage, his refusal to be broken by years of being treated as fragile, and felt something twist painfully in her chest. He reminded her achingly of her younger brother, who had fought his illness with the same ferocity until his body simply couldn't anymore. "Of course, champ. But first, 4 minutes rest. Your muscles need it or you'll hurt yourself." She carried him to the bench beneath the old sycamore and kneeled to massage his cows. He winced but didn't complain. He never complained. Pain had become so ordinary to him that it barely registered as worth mentioning. That, more than anything, was what haunted Claire at night. "Can I ask you something?" His legs swung, too short to reach the ground. "Margaret says walking will hurt me. You say it'll help me. Who's right?" She chose her words with care. "Sometimes people make decisions based on old information, sweetheart. When you were a baby, the doctors saw something in your legs, and with what they knew then, they told your family to keep you resting. But 6 years have passed. Your body has changed. No one has looked at you again with new eyes." "So the doctors were wrong?" "They did their best with what they knew at the time, but medicine changes. What was true 6 years ago isn't always true now, and I've worked with a lot of children like you. I know what doesn't add up when I see it." Oliver studied his own legs as if seeing them for the first time. Then, in a voice so small it nearly disappeared, he asked, "Does Dad know I can walk?" "No, love." "Why don't we tell him?" His eyes welled again, not from pain this time. "He'd be so proud. Maybe then he'd want to spend time with me." And there it was, the real wound. No amount of physical therapy could touch it. "Your dad loves you," Claire said, hating how hollow the words felt even as she spoke them. "No, he doesn't." Oliver pulled back, eyes burning. "If he loved me, he'd come see me. He wouldn't leave me alone all the time. He wouldn't act like I'm a problem." His voice cracked entirely. "I thought maybe he was ashamed of me because I can't walk. But what if I fix it? What if I learn to walk right? Then he'll love me." Claire pulled him into a fierce hug, both of them trembling, her tears falling into his hair. "You are not broken," she said, and there was something almost angry in it. "Do you hear me? You are perfect exactly as you are, and anyone who can't see that is the one who's broken, not you. Your legs will get stronger because you are the bravest person I know, but even if they never did, you would still deserve every bit of your father's love and attention." Oliver nodded against her shoulder, but Claire wasn't sure he believed it. 6 years of being quietly overlooked leaves deeper scars than any diagnosis. They worked another hour and a half. Oliver managed 5 steps, then 4 as fatigue set in, then rested and pushed for 6, determined to end on a record. Every attempt was celebrated like a triumph. When exhaustion finally claimed him entirely, Claire carried him inside, his head heavy on her shoulder, already half asleep. "I love you, Claire. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." She laid him in his bed, tucked the astronaut quilt around him, and watched a small smile settle over his sleeping face, probably dreaming of a day he could run. Touching. Truly touching. Claire spun around. Margaret stood in the doorway, coat still on, arms crossed, a thin smile on her lips that made Claire's stomach drop. "How long have you been there?" "Long enough." Margaret stepped inside and shut the door with a soft, final click. "Long enough to see the boy exhausted and sweating from activity that is explicitly forbidden." "We were just playing." Margaret laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "I have worked in this house since before Oliver was born. I know the difference between play and physical therapy performed without authorization. I wasn't doing anything that could hurt him. Dr. Ellery has 30 years of experience and his orders are unambiguous. And you, after 4 weeks, believe you know better? That diagnosis is 6 years old. That diagnosis kept him alive." Margaret's voice sharpened to a blade. "Without the precautions I put in place, that child would be dead, and now you come along with your theories endangering everything. He is not improving here, he is getting worse. His spirit is breaking and you—" The slap came without warning, sharp enough to make Claire's ears ring. "Watch your tongue, or I will not only see you dismissed, I will make certain you never work with children again. I will ruin you." Claire straightened slowly, cheek burning, but held her ground. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you. If I catch you doing this again, I go straight to Mr. Ashford, and he will believe every word because I was here before you knew this family existed." She left the door, and Claire stood there shaking, not with fear, but with a rage so clean and cold it felt like clarity. She looked at Oliver, still sleeping, and made a silent vow that no outdated diagnosis, no cruel administrator, and no absent father would decide the shape of this child's life. The hours crawled. When Oliver woke, Claire dressed him in a new shirt and carefully combed his hair, and the boy buzzed with a hope that broke her heart in advance. "Do you think Dad will really stay for dinner? Maybe we can watch a movie. There's a new one about astronauts." "Maybe, love." And she hated the lie even as it left her mouth. At 6, a car crunched up the drive. Oliver nearly launched himself out of the wheelchair he despised. "It's Dad! He's early!" Nathaniel Ashford strode in like weather, tall, composed, suit unwrinkled despite a full day's grind, 42 but carrying himself older, his handsome face permanently shadowed by something Claire couldn't quite name. His eyes swept the room without really landing on anyone. "Dad!" Oliver's arms shot out. "You're early!" Nathaniel crossed to him, bent, and pressed a quick mechanical kiss to his forehead, the kind you'd give a photograph. "Hello, Oliver. Good day." "It was amazing. I want to tell you." "That's good." He was already straightening, checking his watch. "Margaret, the Halverson papers, did you leave them in my study?" "Yes, sir. Organized as requested." He turned for the stairs, phone already in hand. Oliver's voice thinned to almost nothing, the light in his face dimming. "Aren't you staying for dinner? You said." Nathaniel paused halfway up, as if only just recalling the promise. He didn't fully turn. "Give me 30 minutes. I'll be right down." "You promise?" "I promise." He was already climbing, phone at his ear, voice sliding into talk of contracts before he'd even finished the sentence. Oliver's shoulders sank, his fists curled uselessly on legs that, for now, still refused him. "It's fine," he whispered, and it wasn't fine at all. Claire knelt beside him, her own throat tight. "Come on, champ, just us tonight. Astronaut movie?" "I'm not hungry. He never has time. He always promises. He always lies." That night, after Oliver finally cried himself to sleep in her arms, Claire made a decision that would either save this family or end her time in this house for good. She would not wait for permission anymore. She began writing a letter, not to Nathaniel Ashford, the businessman, but to the father he had once been, before grief had walled him off from his own son. She wrote about 3 steps, about a boy who thought love had to be earned, about a diagnosis built on outdated fear rather than fact. She wrote until midnight, then left it on his desk beside the contracts he cared for more than his son. 3 days later, Nathaniel came home at 4 in the afternoon. He didn't call ahead. He walked into the garden, saw his son standing, actually standing, crutches trembling, Claire's hands hovering nearby but not touching, and for the first time in 6 years, something in his carved, careful face simply broke open. "Oliver," he said, and his voice wasn't steady at all. Oliver turned, saw him, and took one more step, toward his father this time, before his legs gave way. But Nathaniel was already moving, already kneeling in the wet grass in his $3,000 suit, catching his son before he hit the ground, holding him the way he should have been holding him all along. "I'm sorry," he said into his hair, over and over. "I'm so sorry. I'm here now. I'm here." Claire stood back, letting them have it, tears sliding freely down her own face. Margaret watched from the terrace, her face unreadable, but she said nothing at all, not that day, and not for a long while after. It would take more than one afternoon to undo 6 years, but watching Nathaniel Ashford sit in the grass with his son, refusing to let go, Claire understood that the real miracle hadn't been the steps. It had been a father finally learning how to stay.